And yes, live here on Joy 99.7 FM, and this is News Night. Well, there is a big question hanging over Ghana tonight after the President Akufo-Addo, appealed to China to help Ghana restructure the debt it owes that a country, nearly $2 billion. In fact, the President sent the appeal to China through the German finance minister who had been visiting Ghana in the last few days. The big question tonight is, will China heed the president's appeal for them to help Ghana restructure the nearly $2 billion worth of debt, without which Ghana will most certainly miss out on the IMF bailout? This was the president over the weekend speaking on the issue when he interacted with the finance minister of Germany. We'll bring that to you pretty shortly, but my colleague Kofi joins us in the studio to chat this. We'll also hear from the German finance minister, who also has been speaking about this. He was a bit more forthright on the issue, indicating that China should join in the attempt to restructure Ghana's debt. First, listen to the President Akufo-Addo.
We've run out of excuses for the state of our continent. We have the manpower, we should have the political will. It is time to make Africa work. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds like success. If we work at it, if we stop being beggars and spend Africa's monies inside the continent, Africa would not need to ask for respect from anyone. We will get the respect we deserve.
Well, we'll bring you the fuller detail of that particular speech pretty shortly. The German Federal Minister of Finance, Christian Lindner, who says Germany is willing to support Ghana as it restructures its debt ahead of securing an IMF deal to tackle current economic crisis.
We see economic challenges in Ghana, but opportunities for bilateral trade. And this is why we are here. We've met some business people and entrepreneurs from Ghana. We met the private banking sector. And as mentioned, we had a very constructive and fruitful exchange of views with my colleague. And I'm so frank to call him friend, the finance minister of Ghana, about the current situation and in which way Germany can be of help to overcome the current situation.
Well, that's the Germans there. I want to bring in my colleague, research desk member Kofi Jay, who joins us in the studio right now with details more on this particular issue. The bigger story over the last few weeks in Ghana has been the domestic debt exchange, which is still raging. We're expecting to hear from the finance minister pretty shortly. But there's a big one that we haven't touched yet, or we are attempting to now restructure, which is the our external debt. China owns a significant part of the debt. Over the weekend, the president was asking Germany to help us get China to the table to restructure. In terms of what we know about China's debt, what's the portfolio? How much is it?
So, Evans, I'm currently looking at Ghana's external debt portfolio, and it's around $28.4 billion. This as of the third quarter of 2022. And the single country with the highest, component is China, with about $1.7 billion that we are owing to China. Paris Club countries, about $1.9 billion. So if you compare how much we are owing to China to how much we are owing to the Paris Club countries, 1.9 for Paris Club countries and 1.7 billion for just China alone. Eurobonds is around 13.1 billion, and multilateral, credit is around 8.1 billion. The total, just like I said, is 28.4 billion. So to restructure our debts, China's component is around $1.7 billion.
In other words, without China at the table, without China agreeing to restructure its debt with us, it's almost impossible to
proceed. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. But the suggestion is that China would need to be part of this common framework, the G20 common framework that was set up in the midst of COVID to help countries like Ghana. Well, what is this G20 common framework?
So, according to the IMF, we are likely to see an economic collapse in some countries unless the G20 creditors agree to accelerate debt restructuring. and suspend debt service while the restructurings are being negotiated. So G20 official, creditors, both traditional Paris Club creditors such as France, Germany, and the United States, and new creditors, Evans, such as China and India, have agreed to coordinate to provide debt relief consistent with the debtors' capacity to pay and maintain essential spending needs. But we also know that Chad, Ethiopia, and Zambia all signed up in early 2021, while Chad secured a deal with the creditors in November. We know Zambia is still locked in talks, and Ethiopia's progress was held up by the civil war over there. And now Ghana is currently joining to asking the Paris Club and then also China to come on board to make sure that the external debt restructuring is successful.
One of the most important things we need to note is what we've learned when it comes to China and debt restructuring. We've talked a lot about the Zambia example. One of the reasons he delayed for nearly 2 years, their inability to access the IMF package and the executive board approval. Although just like Ghana, they also got the staff level agreement, but it took them nearly 2 years to get the executive board approval. It's precisely because of China's hesitance on the matter. Yeah. China hesitated for a long time to sit around the table and say we would agree to restructure our debt. That is an important factor, the lesson in this whole process of trying to get the executive board approval, and whether China would do what it did to Zambia, to Ghana.
Yeah.
Kofi, thank you very much. I want to bring in Lord Mensah on this very important subject. But listen to the president make the appeal.
Our target is that by the middle of March, we should be before the board for the full agreement. We have already taken one important step forward in concluding a staff level agreement with the IMF, and we're now looking towards going the full hog and concluding the agreement. And we're hoping that will be done by the middle of March. One of the steps towards that has been the domestic debt exchange program that we are on, which fortunately, after quite a lot of difficulty, has now been virtually concluded. We now have our relations with the Paris Club, the common framework, and we are looking for, as quickly as possible, a creditor committee to be established, so we will have the body with whom we can engage to bring those discussions as quickly as possible. You have good relations with China. We'd like you to yes, all right, let me say that. To encourage China to participate.
Yeah, so that's the president making the point to the German finance minister that you have a relationship with China. We'll like you to help us get them to join the creditor committee. I want to bring in Professor Lord Mensah, who joins us on the telephone line right now, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Prof, thanks for your time here on Newsline.
Yeah, good evening, Evans. Good evening to our listeners.
You just had the president's appeal there. How critical is it that China comes and agrees to join a creditor committee to get us on the road to restructure our external debt?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to debt restructuring, your wish will be that all your creditors come on board to have a common agreement to decide that these are the plans we can go together for Ghana to be comfortable and the creditors will also be comfortable. But the question as to how significant China is when it comes to the external debt restructuring, I would say that they are significant. They play a major role. Even if, what we owe them is 3% of the total external debt, we still have their interest in it. And as a result of that, if we get, their involvement, it should be able to help us. Let me tell you one thing. It may not necessarily be the money involved to say that maybe we owe China a little. Oh, well, what we have on paper may be quite substantial, but when it comes to debt restructuring, it doesn't matter, the quantum of debt that you owe a creditor, as far as we get involved, it sends a signal to the other creditor community that maybe there could be something good in the restructuring. And that is why, they are hopping on. And as a result of that, they should join the bandwagon to have, their credit, restructured. So effectively, it may not necessarily be the quantums of money involved. We look at it that way, then probably in the domestic sense, we wouldn't have been chasing the individual bondholders.
So what should Ghana do now? I mean, for the president to mention this publicly, it tells you they've tried using diplomatic channels and it hasn't worked.
Well, I can't conclude on that, but I mean, as far as I know, when it comes to debt, the external community understands, the dynamics more than, the local, creditors. So effectively, for the president to push the finance minister of Germany to speak to China, obviously it tells you that how desperate they may want every creditor, as far as the external debt is concerned, to get involved in the debt restructuring. China is at the Far East, and the way they have their debt structures may be different from what the Western world will be looking at. When it comes to the negotiations and you're looking at the creditor in clusters, maybe China may not be part of those in the West. And as a result of that, negotiating with them may be difficult because they may come with different proposal on the table altogether. And that is why possibly the president singled China out and then requested Germany to push on them to get involved.
Thank you very much, Professor Lord Mensah. There, another challenge, another hurdle we need to get over if we want the executive board approval, the IMF executive board approval, to pave way for us to get that very important bailout by March. So listen to News Night on Joy 99.7 FM. We are still waiting for the finance minister to begin speaking. He will be addressing the nation. We're scheduled to hear from him at 6 p.m. That hasn't started. When that gets underway, we'll bring it live to you here on Newsnight.
But let's head to the Upper East region now, and both Kusasi and Mamprisi factions in Boko have today expressed their anger and frustrations at the Upper East Regional Security Council for the manner in which the security of Boko is being handled. Well, both factions believe that the security agencies and political leaders, including the MPs, are scratching just the surface of the issue and not dealing with the real threats to the peace and security of Boko. Well, today the minister, who's also the chairman of the Regional Security Council, led a team to meet both the Kusasis and the Mamprisi separately at their various areas. Well, listen to Majid Bukari, one of those who spoke for the Mamprisi side.
The security, they are here. They will tell you they know where the problems are coming from. But why is it that they cannot map out strategy to ensure that this bandit will not continue to disturb the peace that we are enjoying in Boko? It's because of politics. And we always blame you, regional minister, as head of RECSEC. Every day I blame you. Even on television, I put every blame on you. Because I cannot understand why, as RECSEC and your case men are misbehaving and you cannot call them to order. I find it very difficult. If a Mamprisi man was the MC and the town was still like that, do you think we will allow him to still occupy that place because he's a Mamprisi man? No. We will write several petitions and ask government to relieve that person from his post because he's incompetent. I'm talking with people's life. The Salmon Pit, over 300 and something police were deployed in Boko for the celebration of Salmon Pit Festival. Wow. Despite our assurances to regional police commander that we will ensure that no Mamprisi person will go out and fire a gun. And they will celebrate the Salmon Pit in peace. We actually did that. Didn't we do that, Municipal Commander? Didn't we do that? We ensured that nothing like that happened.
Well, so that's the meeting with the Mamprisi side, and that's Majid Bukhari, who spoke for the Mamprisi side when the minister met them. Earlier, the Kusasi people were angry at RECSEC. They believe that these frequent gunfires in the air were the real issues RECSEC should be tackling, and not a talk shop.
This country or this part of the country has become governable. They should let us know. How can we RECSEC is here. How can this be happening to us? RECSEC is here. They are part of us.
So that was what transpired at that meeting between the Kusasis and the RECSEC. Well, my colleague Albert Sori was part of today's meetings, joins us live from the area. First, Albert, give us a sense of what actually transpired at the various stops, because at some point we are told that the discussion was held up because of the sounds of gunfires during the meeting.
Yes, Emefa. So what the regional minister did at every point was to tell them why he was there. He was there basically because he wanted to broker peace, to tell them to lay down their tools, and then to embrace peace. So he would do this, and then he would give the opportunity for the people to tell him the things that they wanted to be done. Now, there were also directors of Ghana Health Service and the Ghana Education Service who were with the team. So they were given the opportunity to tell the people how the conflict was affecting education and health. It was at this time, during the meeting with the Boko Naba, when the Ghana Education Service representative was speaking to us, that we started hearing some gunfire from a distant place. Initially, it was very mild, so they continued telling him to go ahead with the speech. But as he continued, the gunfire became louder and more rapid. So one of the people started asking, is this not what they should be trying to stop, rather than coming to tell them about figures of how many teachers are no longer at post and etc. So when he started speaking, other people agreed with him, and they started adding their voice to what he was saying, and that brought the meeting to a stop for a while.
Well, but we could hear that when it was the Mamprisi side, at least clearly, they were able to make the point. But at the Kusasi meeting, we had one person starting to talk, and then all of a sudden, it turned chaotic. Everybody was talking at the same time. What actually happened?
Yes, so when the minister, when the Ghana Education Service rep continued to talk, and then the one person intervened and said that, look, you are the Regional Security Council, you are here talking to us, and we are hearing gunfire from a distant place. It clearly means that the people who are perpetrating these acts of violence are not even afraid of the Regional Security Council. Now, it appeared that the others who were quiet at the time agreed with this person. And so everybody started voicing out their frustrations, and that is why the pandemonium occurred. Even the Boko Naba had to be escorted back to his palace because it wasn't a sign of respect for him to be sitting there while all of this was going on. So basically, this was what happened. And when the minister was leaving, the youth of the area continued to gather around his car, and they were all talking. Some were even almost booing him because they felt that enough was not being done as far as trying to control the security situation in Boko was concerned.
So what was the minister's response to all this?
Evans, can you repeat
What
that?
was the minister's response to all this?
Yes, so when we got to the Mamprisi side, similar frustrations were expressed, as you heard Majid Bagura explained there. And the minister basically said that all their concerns have been taken on board, and the RECSEC will do everything possible to bring the concerns they raised as they try to bring peace back to Boko.
The reason why RECSEC and MUSEC are here, so that they can hear you, listen to you, and then when we go, we sit down. In the whole of the 16 regions, it is only Upper East RESEC that meets almost every week. Almost every week, because of Boko. It was Boko, Kandega, and Doba, but now mainly it's Boko. And all the things that you have brought up, we have been dealing with it. They are right here. And we are working behind the scenes. We do a lot behind the scenes. What I want all of you to know is that, as a person also, definitely, it's not everybody that probably likes me. So even if we are doing good things, people will say we are not. And that information will get you quicker. In this conflict, we have done things that has never been done. We called MPP and NDC political parties to Bolga, if you remember. We called the youth to Bolga. We met severally. We met the radio stations. We did a lot of work. The military, the police, NIB, they are always on top of the matter. But for us, we will see all what you have told us. We're expecting to be angry. We're expecting you to be telling us this. Yes, because you believe in us, and you believe that we should be able to bring peace to Boko. But we can tell you that we are not sleeping. We are doing all what we can to bring peace to Boko. So give us the trust in us. Inshallah, one day all of us will sit down and eat together as before. I will come here and do my campaign as before. I always come here, I'll do my campaign. I have a lot of friends here. My wife actually comes from here. You all know that. So, but we are not in good times. And that is why I also thought that I will come and talk to you. You know, I left there, they were hooting at me when I was leaving the place. I'm sure you have the information already. Because you see the two of you are fighting, but you have friends there, they also have friends here. So whatever happens here, they know. Whatever happens here, they know. Is that not it? So as for us, we are the back, this one will punch here, this one will punch here. But what I can assure you is that we are very fair, we are straight.
So that's the Upper East Regional Minister, Stephen Yakubu, when he met both sides. Actually, we put both together when he addressed the Kusasi side and the Mamprisi side. Well, but while welcoming an investigation into the allegations, the Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwamenu, cautioned about the possible threat of involvement of terrorists in the protracted conflict if the people of Boko do not make a conscious effort to stop the conflict.
Stand and appreciate the fact that, just as every litigation has an end, what is going on Boko must also have an end. Definitely, we need to bring this to an end. And we can only do that if we talk to ourselves and then also try to push this issue of mistrust behind us. For one thing, for me, is scary. And I think that the earlier the people of Boko really appreciate this, the better it will be for the entire country. We live in this country where the activities of terrorists are staring us in the faces. And they are looking for the weakest point, along our borders to really enter. Boko obviously is a border town. And then when we have all these disturbances going on, it becomes a fertile ground for these activities of the terrorists to really thrive. And then when it happens, trust me, the whole country will be up in flames. If for nothing at all, the people of Boko must know that this country is dependent on them to bring this problem to finality, to at least protect the rest of this country. I believe that it is doable. The security agencies are only in to help bring calm. They are not in to target anybody at all. You see, when issues of this nature will introduce politics, then we muddy the waters the more.
You are the politicians. You are the ones to blame for this situation, at least from what he's saying. Both sides. You're all there fueling it.
I agree. But you see, growing up and then understanding politics, I think that we are where we are as politicians to serve the people. But if we as politicians think that the best way we can serve the people is to create mistrust so that, we can really gain, out of all the disturbances going on, then trust me, we are not doing what is supposed of us.
And that, by the way, is the Deputy Defense Minister there interacting with you, Emefa Apawu, in that conversation on the probe yesterday. Still listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Still ahead.
The National Road Safety Authority declares the Accra-Tema motorway or the Tema Highway no longer befitting of the motorway status.
Because of the road, it's a death trap. Because look at it, you can't call this potholes. The road is very, very bad. We are suffering in this road.
Meanwhile, GPRTU to mount pressure on government to begin reconstruction of the Accra-Tema motorway, or is it rather highway, as it deteriorates further with more potholes that endanger motorists. We have details of that after business with George. We are here. Hello, George.
Hi. We are still waiting for that briefing from the Minister of Finance on the state on the economy. So in 10 minutes' time, one critical thing is going to talk about is the domestic debt exchange program and what that will mean for our IMF board approval and those preconditions that we are supposed to meet before we go to the IMF board. And we'll be interested to be following up that briefing by the Minister of Finance, that is Ken Oforiatta, as he briefs us on the update and how things are going. Have they secured that 80% approval coming from the subscribers or the bondholders with respect to signing up to the deal? Well, even there's something from IMF and is projecting that Ghana's economy will pick up strongly from next year, driven by the extractive boom, and also the National Petroleum Authority justifies its intervention with respect to prices of petroleum products sold under the Gold for Oil program. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Live and Ghana Pay. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the IMF is projecting that the economy is expected to pick up strongly from next year. Now, this was after it revised Ghana's economic growth to 2.8% in its revised economic outlook for this year. The IMF growth for 2023, it is similar to what government had projected in the 2023 budget. Division Chief at the Research Department at the IMF, Daniel Lentz, said the extractive sector will be the main driver of Ghana's growth from next year.
This is the cooling in 2023. But in 2024, we see a rebound, in particular in the extractive activities, and that is going to support Ghana in 2024. I would add that right now, so just very recently, the IMF team went to Ghana, reached agreement with the Ghanaian authorities on an economic reform program that will be supported under a $3 billion extended credit facility. And the goal of that program is to reestablish macroeconomic stability, debt sustainability, and create the foundations for higher and inclusive growth over the medium term.
And that is Daniel Len. He is Division Chief at the Research Department at the IMF. They're telling or doing some projections with respect to Ghana's economic growth from next year, picking up strongly. Now, banks, insurers, and institutional investors are going to get what government is describing as an enhanced deal under the revised domestic debt exchange program. Now, this was after government agreed on a new coupon rate to these banks, insurers, and institutional investors that will sign up to the program. There is more in this report.
This is one of the reasons why government is optimistic that with the amendments made to the offer, all these bondholders will participate in the domestic debt exchange program when the offer expires tomorrow. The Finance Ministry has reviewed the coupon payments that it is offering to the banks, insurers, and the institutional investors It is now looking at paying 5% cash as coupon payments to these stakeholders, and the remaining 4 payments is converted into fresh new bonds that will be issued to all these players. Sources say it's part of plans to manage government's liquidity going forward, citing the current pressure on its finances. Sources also say, based on how the necessary stakeholder input was carried out for this revised domestic debt exchange program memorandum, the Finance Ministry, before all these stakeholders, will come on board by the close of tomorrow. One of the main reasons why the domestic debt exchange program was expanded the other time was due to the concerns expressed by these banks. So if the concerns are duly addressed then, getting the required 80% subscription will not be challenged going forward. According to the Finance Ministry, it remains committed to sticking by the proposed terms captured in the revised memorandum.
And that is the Business Desk report. Now, the National Petroleum Authority says it stands by a decision to regulate the pricing of petroleum products sold under its Gold for Oil program. The authority in a statement today announced that it will play an active role in the pricing of products sold to these oil marketing companies through the Gold for Oil initiative. The National Petroleum Authority argues that it is fair that these products sold at competitive prices under this program, consumers actually benefit from that. Mohammed Kudus speaks for the National Petroleum Authority.
Marketers are picking now the product from two different sources. One at a higher price, that is the prevailing market, and one relatively at a cheaper price under the G4O program. So there is the need for a certain understanding and coming up with a framework that allow a fair pricing, that marketers would get what they are expected and the consumers will equally get what they are expected. So we play that role again in determining the ex-refinery price that the BDCs, after buying from Post, will then have to be selling to the OMC. So that is going to be the role that we play in. It is not different from what we've actually been doing all this while, but because of a certain peculiarity in this particular program, that is why probably it is raising a certain eyebrow. But it is a normal role that we'll be playing all this while in determining XRF at the BDT level and then the XCOM at the OMC level.
Mohammed Kudus is the communications manager at the National Petroleum Authority. Telecoms giant MTN has justified the increase in the mobile data prices, insisting it needed to help deal with the current operational cost. MTN in a statement maintained that it needed to stay in business and deal with the current economic challenges facing the economy, whilst they have to ensure that concerns of the business and subscribers are addressed in providing the required services to them. To the stock market, it appears MTN's deal reached with government for the Ghana Revenue Authority to scrap that tax that was placed on them is impacting on its share price. Today, it actually went up by 6 pesos to close at 88 pesos. If you look at the shares of Societe Generale, it lost 10 pesos to close at 90 pesos. And that of Unilever Ghana also lost 19 pesos to close at 2 Ghana cedis, 6 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. And still waiting for the briefing that is supposed to come in from the Minister of Finance. Even
do we have any other one to start now?
The
advertised time was 6 p.m.
Yeah, there were some technical issues and it'll be starting very soon.
Okay. Thank you, George. We'll wait. What we can guarantee you is once it starts, we'll bring it live to you here on Joy 99.7 FM, also on our Joy News channel on the Multi TV.
Well, let's talk about the Accra-Tema motorway or not, because we are told that the National Road Safety Authority has declared that that road no longer meets the true definition of a motorway.
Senior Manager of Planning and Program Directorate at the authority, Henry Asumeni, explained that a motorway, by definition, must be a controlled access highway designed for high-speed traffic and without access for pedestrians, bicycles, or other non-motorized forms of transportation. The Accra-Tema motorway, however, allows for other forms of transportation and does not have proper safety measures in place, therefore failing to meet the definition of a motorway. His comment was in response to the recent Joy News series, The Deadly Highway, which highlights the dangerous conditions and high number of road accidents on that particular stretch. We will hear from him shortly. First, here is a report from my colleague, Michael Ashali, after traveling up and down that road.
The highway was opened to traffic in November 1965, a concrete highway which was built to speed traffic between Accra and the nearby port and industrial town of Tema.
Ghana, land of freedom.
The express highway is not riddled with gaping potholes, and drivers are fed up.
Because of the road, it's a death trap. Because look at it, you can't call this potholes.
The motorway is notoriously known for some of the heart-wrenching accidents in the country, and the road is getting more dangerous by the day.
My name is Noah Tekpe. The road is very, very bad. We are suffering in this road because they are not doing the maintenance.
The speed limit on the motorway is 100 kilometers per hour. With the potholes, drivers are forced to slow down to avoid destroying their vehicles. In the process, they create congestion on the road.
Charlie, the traffic is too much on the motorway. There's a lot of potholes on the road.
These potholes are not only an inconvenience for drivers, but for passengers as well.
Nearly everyone uses the road, including those going to health facilities, pregnant women and workers.
Waste problem.
At night, the motorway is plunged into total darkness. We observe that more than half of all the streetlights are not functional. Some are without their cables, whereas others are without bulbs. Drivers will not see the danger lurking in the corner until it's too late. Since 2009, there have been more than 10 promises to rehabilitate or expand the motorway. Kwesi Amwakwata said the reconstruction was going to start in November 2021.
Any moment from now, and we are going to turn the motorway into 6 lanes.
It didn't. He promised the reconstruction will commence August 2022.
Those who do not know what is happening here should keep quiet, okay? And we are starting, this year.
Again, they missed that. Although the motorway was made with concrete slabs, bitumen was used to patch some of the potholes.
And the fixing should be permanent fixing, not something temporary.
Sadly, these temporary fixes have only worsened the problem. The bitumen patches are now looking like corrugated sheets because of pressure from the vehicles and the heat from the blazing sun, and vehicles can't help but wiggle. The once pride and joy of the country has now become a road of shame. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Now we can hear from the Senior Manager of Planning and Programs Directorate at the authority, that's the National Road Safety Authority, Henry Asumeni.
We all know the state of the Tema-Accra motorway, if we can still call it a motorway, because we all know when it comes to road classifications, we know what a motorway is. This has, it's no more a motorway. It is just a road linking two cities. And the road in the state in which it is not safe. Yes, a safety assessment has been done over the years on the motorway, and we see that the motorway keeps on deteriorating. And it is in line with this that the Ministry of Roads and Highways made it a priority for the rehabilitation and actually the redesigning. It's actually a redesigning of the Accra-Tema motorway. If you look at the state in which the road is now, it's not something that by definition it should be called a motorway. We know the bad state in which the road is, and we know that this is a road that we have a lot of commuters from two major cities, Accra and Tema. And as I said, it's one of the priority areas of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. I would urge commuters to be safe on the roads. Please, as we use the road, let us not speed above 100. Even when you look at the road, you shouldn't be speeding up to about 70 kilometers per hour. So I would urge commuters to be extra careful when they are using the road.
Well, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union say they would use all available means to pile pressure on government to either reconstruct that stretch or put it back in shape. Here's member of the communications team of the GPRTU, Samuel Lamwa.
Sometimes you may not know you run into a pothole, and sometimes it can cause a tire burst and a whole lot. Looking at the situation at the motorway now, we have been complaining. Every single driver, both and private car drivers and commercial vehicles, everybody is complaining about the situation of the motorway. We hear that there's going to be an extension and whatever. When are they going to do it? Are they going to sit down for these situations to cause accidents and to take lives before they try to fix it? And so they should try and do something about it. It's not like we are just making a noise or we are just saying whatever we want to say. But the thing is real. The thing is real. I wonder if they also use that. And I know they also use the road. We are not happy about it. So they should try as hard as they can. I know sometimes they try to do something, but they are not living up to expectation. This is not what we are expecting them to do. So we are pleading. We are pleading.
That's the communications team member of the GPRTU. Let's do sports. And I know all of you, we are all praying that he'll be found. I'm talking about Christian Achu. Give us the latest.
Well, yes, even Emefa, yes. Well, search and rescue efforts continue for Black Stars winger Christian Achu after Turkey's deadly earthquake. Istanbul-based journalist Kadir Ono has been speaking to us about the latest on that.
Last night, there was a match between Hatayspor and Kasımpaşa.
Yes.
The match ended 1-0, and only goal scored by Christian Atsu. He scored the winning goal of the match, and after that, the earthquake has happened till the morning, and we cannot hear anything about him, and we cannot know where he is. But rescue teams probably will find it very soon. We hope that he will be found when he found under wreckage.
So that's Kadir Onur there, an Istanbul-based journalist, speaking to my colleague Muftana Bile Elion Sports today. Well, we also have an update from the vice president of the club that Christian Achu plays for, Mustafa Uzat, and the update is as at 5:30 p.m. Ghana time, and he's quoted as saying all members of the playing body and staff are accounted for, except Christian Achu and sporting director Tana Savut, who are still under the rubble. We are still trying to reach them. That's the updates as far as that is concerned. And we also have update from some Ghanaian female players in Turkey. And so that's Faustina Trema, Suzy Dedetay, and Priscilla Autry, whose city was also affected. They've confirmed that they are safe. And we've also received update from the Ghana national amputee team, who have some of their players playing in Turkey, confirming that their members are also safe. President Akufo-Addo and former President John Mahama have also been pouring some well wishes for Christian Achu, and we're all praying that he is found safe.
Thank you very much, Carl.
Well, and the rescue operation is still underway across much of southern Turkey and northern Syria following that huge earthquake. We are told that it's killed more than 2,600 people. So in Turkey alone, it's 1,500. In Syria, 810 dead. And we are told that more than 9,700 have been wounded. And the president of the country, Erdogan, has been describing it as the worst situation to have hit that country in more than 84 years. So that's the situation in Turkey as we speak, and we pray that definitely Christian Achu will be found. And National Director Arocha Ghana, Dr. Seth Apiakubi, says allowing any form of mining in the Etiwa forest will have dire consequences for water supply in the country. While touching on similar form of mining at Awasu in the Western North region, Dr. Apiakubi said the Awa River has been rendered useless as residents are no longer able to drink from it. Well, this was his testimony at an Accra High Court in a case filed by the environmental non-governmental organization and 10 others seeking to stop government from undertaking bauxite mining in the Etiwa forest. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
The battle is not won yet, but the campaign is going very fine. So we still will count on your support, on your prayer. It's so nice to know that you are praying for us and you are with us. And that's all we need from you. The community members who we have always hoped for, that they would take ownership of the campaign and tell government, not to mine bauxite in Atiwa so that their water will remain.
Dr. Apiakubi told the court Parts of the Tiwa forest had already been destroyed as a result of exploratory mining undertaken by the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation. This mining, he insisted, was unlawful as the necessary permits had not been obtained. State Attorney Leona Abasa Johnson questioned the basis for this unlawful mining claim. Dr. Apiakubi said a search conducted at the offices of relevant state agencies revealed no environmental impact assessment report had been compiled. He assured the court he could provide the said documents if allowed to do so. This request was granted despite the opposition from the state attorney. It was then suggested to Dr. Apiakubi that mining of bauxite was already taking place in similar forests in a sustainable manner. Reference was made to the Awasu bauxite in the Western North region as well as other parts of the world. The witness told the court this was untrue. Dr. Apiakubi is back in the witness box on Tuesday.
You're still live here on Newsnight. Is on Joy 99.7 FM. Tonight, after weeks of bitter arguments and rancor within the opposition NDC's caucus in Parliament, the MPs have resolved to back the new leadership announced by the party 2 weeks ago. The removal of Harun Idrisu as minority leader brought significant strife and cracks within the party, with some 72 MPs signing a petition asking for the decision to be reversed. Today, after a meeting with the party's national executives and council of elders, the caucus has resolved to fully back Dr. Kesela Tofosing and his team in the new minority leadership. Now, listen to chairman of the party, Johnson Sidun Kitia, telling journalists what happened in this meeting.
The challenges that arose out of the announcement of the new leadership of our caucus in Parliament have all been resolved. All concerns have been addressed. So we're just looking forward. We in NDC believe that sparks of truth emanate from clashes of opinion. And that was what has just happened. The challenges that we've gone through in the past few days have produced very beneficial results, and that is that it has led to put on the front burner some problems that we have slept over, and that has to do with the framework for organizing and leading our caucus in Parliament. It was work in progress, but it has not been completed. I think that these current challenges have brought the issue back on the front burner. So one of the takeaways from this meeting is for us to go quickly and expedite action on establishment of the framework for the running of our caucus in Parliament in future.
We can quickly now hear from what Harun Idrisu, who now is a former minority leader, has been saying. Has he accepted now that he has been removed, and will he back the new leadership? Elton Brobe has been working at that angle of the story for us. Elton, what do we know?
Well, I've been trying to get him to respond to this matter. He says that he's maintaining a golden silence on the matter. Those were the words he used. But people who are very close to him say that his main preoccupation now is to work towards an NDC victory in the 2024 election, both in the presidential and the parliamentary. And tomorrow, he will go to Parliament as a member of Parliament for Tamale South, and then hope to take a seat and contribute to advancement of the NDC agenda on the floor of Parliament. But for now, he remains committed to the cause.
So he's now accepted that he will be backing the new leadership.
Basically, I mean, judging from what I was told by this person very close to him, there is no doubt that he accepts his new role as Member of Parliament for Tamale South, awaiting further direction from the leadership as to which committee he may serve on or act as ranking member. But as far as the matter in question is concerned, he wants to remain silent on it for now, basically working towards an NDC victory in 2024.
Elton, thank you very much. And that's it for Newsnight tonight. My name is Mensah.
I am Emefa Apawu.
We're still waiting for that briefing by the Finance Minister. When that starts, we'll bring that to you.